Well,
Test. Test.
morning, y'all.
Morning.
We kind of set up our little corner and everything and got ready for make this video without really knowing where we're going with it. So, anyways, Colin, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Because you kind of seem like an interesting guy at, 21? You've done quite a bit.
A little bit, yeah. I guess I'm Colin Moody. I run the Colin Moody social media.
Crazy. Imagine that. I'll jump in with some questions, but I just want to know, like, where are you from?
Grew up in East Tennessee.
What do you do?
Complicated question? Not really. Kind of. Day hand, start colts, and horseshoe. What I do for a living.
Yeah. Okay. One of my questions to you is, you kind of sound like you've done a lot. You didn't grow up ranching, right?
No.
So now you day hand, you day work, but you have worked for people in the past. Like,
Mhm.
what's the longest you've worked for an outfit?
Year.
1 year. Okay.
Mhm.
Same here, actually. A year just seems like a good, well-rounded time frame to, stick with it.
Yeah,
In
because
a way.
you don't want to. I mean, there's a lot to say, as you know, for getting settled into a place.
Yeah.
Like, those first couple months, it's like, don't really know what's going on. And
Trying to figure out the
you're trying to
operation.
figure out how the operation runs, because every operation is different. And so, yeah, a year's pretty nice. It gets a lot of fun, actually, after that. I stayed a little bit longer than a year. And starting to come back there and do the same stuff, it was like, oh, yeah, I know how to do
Now
this.
you know what you're doing. You got your
Uh-huh.
feet rolling. Like, yeah, that's the same thing. I had like a 12-month contract. It wasn't really a contract, but I ended up staying for like 15 months.
And managers
And
really like that,
really,
because they don't have to do nothing. You know how it goes. You know
yeah,
how it rolls.
yeah. You've worked on an operation for a year. You were saying you've been a ski bum. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
curious, like, what is the progression? You grew up on a farm. Now you're a working, traveling day hand, going to be a train farrier, or going to train to be a farrier. Like, what all? Not so much what is your story, but like, what has been the progression? How did you?
Ski bum. Just
Out
because
of high school?
straight out of high school. Uh, there's a lot of backstory to that, but it would take forever, so I'm not going to get into it. But basically, I just had to get out of my hometown, and that was the only thing I could find that time of year that had housing. And I
Oh,
thought it sounded like a lot of fun.
yeah.
So, ski bum, dude ranch as a wrangler, because it was the only
Another
thing
seasonal
another
thing, yeah.
seasonal, and the only type of ranch I use the term ranch very loosely, job that I could get into with my experience level. So use that. It was kind of my get in the
Stepping
door.
stone in a way, yeah, yeah.
That's what really got me into horses. Um, the head wrangler there was a trainer as well, and I worked with her a good. I mean, I always just really, really liked learning. So I just always asking questions, figuring stuff
Mm-hmm.
out. So then I had a hell of a lot of fun as a ski bum. So I went back to the ski bum
Did you
again.
really?
And I was a professional photographer both years on the
Wow.
mountain.
What did that entail? I'm just curious.
Portrait primarily.
Like taking pictures of families and stuff,
Yeah,
or okay.
for the most part.
Huh.
Do some action and like stuff like that, but the where the money was at for the business was pictures. So it's not quite as exciting as it sounds. But I did like engagements and
Well, part
stuff
of the
like
whole
that.
deal is it comes with housing, and you're on the mountain every day, probably.
Yeah,
like,
I clocked 110 days on the snow.
wow. Wow,
And
that's crazy.
yeah, so that was in Telluride, Colorado.
Okay, right.
And then from there, I came up to Montana over a year and a half ago now, coming up on 2, and just really lucked out into an operation with a really, really good manager that wanted to teach. And I had, not to toot my own horn, but um, I had a lot of offers for ranch work, because I had my base skills, and I took the time and I went through and I made like a nice resume you see a lot of the ads on the ranch world or whatever, ranch hands for hire on Facebook, and it's
Yeah.
like, I'm 23, I can ranch, hire me.
Yeah.
And
Literally just like,
the lowest effort.
yes.
And so I just took the time and I built out like a nice resume. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. This is my strong suits.
Hmm.
And I got blown up.
Yeah.
And so I was actually going to take a position in Wyoming. People always ask me what brings me to Montana. Nothing specific. It was just this operation seemed like the best fit. It's well rounded. It had a developmental feedlot. It was cow calf, run a hay operation, AI their heifers, um, use horses, ride in pretty big country. There's just a lot of stuff there, and I learned a bunch. Um, my boss there knew everybody, got me connected to people, and that's how I. That was the base of how I made my connections to be able to day hand.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's sometimes it really is just getting a foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me too, I think it's kind of cool. I kind of got my foot in the door through a dude ranch too. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on my way up. I haven't quite had the same level of like cowboy mentors or people that can teach me or want to teach me. It's been more like, you know, um, kind of paying my dues in a way and working my way up, like starting with kind of crappy stuff or like, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, you're not gonna be most of the time you're not gonna be at the forefront if you don't know how to rope and something needs to go get roped.
Yeah,
Not a lot of
you gotta
people.
be decently handy to be able to go day hand.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I'm getting there. I'm working my ways up the rung, but I mean, it's like, you know,
And a lot of it was I just got really, really fortunate with the people that I got around.
so I'm curious, why did you move on? And I don't have to put this in or nothing, but why did you move on from that really good operation with the really good manager and the really good opportunity?
Because a really good manager left and the really good operation turned into not really good
Really?
operation.
Wow.
I worked for him through the summer, showed up in the spring, worked 4 or 5 months under him, and then it was this whole big deal. Owner died. Their 3 kids are squabbling about it. You know, 2 of them got along with each other and one didn't. Anyways, the one son, this like 50-year-old people,
Hmm.
buys out the other 2, and me and the new manager just didn't see eye to eye. Just didn't get along. He worked me like a dog.
That's what you're talking about the other night,
I
huh?
mean, and he put me in charge of that feedlot, so I was managing that feedlot, and then like also calving around it, feeding other stuff around it. Like it was a lot.
Yeah.
So it was time. It kind of helped though, because it's what kind of forced me into doing everything I'm doing right now.
Hmm.
Because if that had been good, I probably just would have sat there and just kept kind of slowly
It's a fair
learning. But
point.
I learned all my ranching skills from that job. You know, all my basics, whatever, heavy machinery, calving, uh, haying, and then I learned how to horseshoe this summer. Anyways,
Handy skill to
that
have,
job
right?
made me quit. I was pissed off. I was ready to leave. I was ready to move on, and um, I was gonna move on. I was looking at operations, and anyways, this guy says, "Hey, I've I know you're looking to move on. I've got a cabin." Uh,
That's how that came about,
uh-huh.
huh?
And I known this guy, and I said, "Well, I'm leaving anyways." He said, "You can live in this cabin in exchange for, helping around the place and getting on some colts for me." And so I ended up at the cabin. He's the one that taught me to shoe. Um, he's the reason that I started my social media. He really pushed me to. I wasn't going to.
What?
He
Really?
really pushed me to do it. Said you gotta show people what you're doing. And then I was able to day hand because I had connections. And then this guy went and worked under this fall, like when I was out at the one operation, just handy. And I learned a pile for it. So it's kind of like I've got really lucky and been kickstarted because I've been around really, really experienced people.
Yeah. Well,
that want to teach.
the other thing is too is, it's not all luck. Some people would have just stayed at that place, that really shitty place, because it's kind of like, well, I mean, obviously I don't know the exact situation. I don't know if most people would or wouldn't, but I'm
No,
just saying, like,
there was in the span of a couple months, there's 3 hands that run through there.
okay, yeah, then probably not. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, a lot of people are kind of complacent. They're
Yeah.
fine with just, you
Yep.
know,
Happy, comfortable.
it's easy. It's nice to not have to make decisions sometimes, and a lot of people are fine just living in their life of misery because they don't have to change
Comfort
in some ways.
is the thief of. No, I don't remember, but yeah,
There's a
you
good quote
just
in there somewhere.
there is. I can't remember it, but you can just sit there
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's like that's one thing that's really frustrating to me. Like, so I started working on a dude. So grew up on a farm, finished high school, didn't know what I wanted to do. This is kind of like a short little rundown of mine. Went and worked on a dude ranch, applied, had, I knew how to tack a horse barely, like maybe, I think, I don't really remember.
that's how I was.
I kind of like knew, like I was comfortable around horses. Like I'd ridden bareback on ponies before. Dogs are out. I'm gonna go chase them. Or I'm gonna go. All them heifers are running. I'm gonna go. So before all that, I was saying, like, out of high school, I went and worked on a dude ranch.
Barely knew how to tack up a horse.
Barely knew how to tack up a horse.
Could probably sit on a horse.
Yeah, I applied, and that's literally, like, I put a lot into that application. I'm like, there is no reason that these people should hire me to go take care of people on horses if I don't know what I'm doing.
I didn't mind too. I fudged a little bit too.
Maybe I did too, a little bit, maybe. But, like, honestly, did you have like an in-person, like, over the phone interview, or
Over the phone.
I mean, like a face-to-face, or like a call on the phone kind of deal?
Thank God.
Me too. It was just a phone call. I think I had a really good interview. Just I got prepared for it. I had some answers to questions, and
look through their website, get some asking questions.
exactly. But now, yeah, just get some talking points. Like, I see you guys do this or this or this. Like, that looks so awesome. I love how family oriented you guys are, or something. Like, I kind of totally buttered them up, and, like, was really really going for the job. But, like,
that's how I was.
That's how you got
I
up.
didn't think I didn't think I had a shot. It was when I applied to that dude ranch, I spent hours on that application.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like, I think people are stupid for not. Honestly, it's kind of one of those things where nobody owes you that job or anything. Like, whatever. Getting a little sidetracked here. I don't even know where I was going with all that. What time is it? You wanting to leave at 8?
Around there. I can go a couple more.
One of the questions I get the most, guessing you do too, I think you talked about it, is how do you get into ranch work? And that is such a loaded, hard question, because it's not a step 1, step 2, step 3. There can be, like, a lot of things that you can do to help you along the way, or, increase your chances, I guess, or, good pointers, but there's no really, this is how you do it. I just want to hear, do you have any recommendations for people on how they could do it, as somebody who kind of made their way into the industry?
I think there's two sides of it. I was kind of thinking about this last night. There's the practical side, and there is the mindset side. And it sounds corny, but practical side, like I said last night, go work at your sale barns, go work at your feed yards, call your local horse barn, tell them you want horse experience. Ranching it's a lot of different skill sets that is wanted and required. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have horse experience, that can be taught, but just for example, horse experience, fencing, welding, heavy mechanicking, running heavy equipment. Even if you're in a completely urban area and have access to no farms or anything, number one, I'd say move. But 2, you could go learn how to weld. Welding is extremely valuable skill. You could, if you got good at that, you could probably get a job on an operation that just really basically needs a welder. You might be working at a feedlot where you're welding up fence all day, but from there you can continue to make connections, work your way into it, take
Yep.
opportunities. And that's the mindset part of it is you like you just said earlier, you got to take risks and get out of your comfort zone. I mean, nothing worth doing is easy.
Yeah.
And you just got to go do it.
Yeah. That's where I was coming from before when I started on the rant about my whole dude ranch thing. Is it annoys me because I have all these friends and connections back home. What?
They say I want to go do it.
That say like, dude, you're living the dream. Like I
How do I
love what
do
you're
it?
doing. Like, well, yeah, they're like, I wish I could do something like that. I'm like, you literally can.
Oh,
You're 20 years old. You're in a dead end job. What are you expecting, a 50-cent raise in the next 2 years? It's like, what? You're not married. You're living at your folks' place. Nothing against that at all. Nothing against any of this. If you're content with that, be happy. But don't whine and complain. If
mm-hmm.
like you have the power to go change it, just like you did, just like I did. Like it takes drive. It takes tenacity. Like
It
it's
does.
not an easy thing that anybody's just going to hand to you.
And the other thing that it takes is not only does it take that to go do it, but to succeed in this industry, and I'm not, I don't like want to toot my own horn here, but like you have to have a really strong work ethic. You have to, be able to make a good impression on people because connections are 90% of how you get into it. Like that's what gives you your opportunities. And you got to be able to work hard,
Yeah.
and people see that and recognize that. But if you don't, they're going to be like, you can sit here and shovel shit for the next 5 years.
Oh, absolutely. And like, two people given the same opportunity. You're starting at this barn mucking stalls. Mindset separates those two people. One of them might move on. The other one is like, okay, well, I got my foot in the door, and they're going to be a lazy piece of junk, and they're never going to move on from that scoop and shovel because, like, they look at it like a job, not as an opportunity. And
That was brilliant. Look at it like a job and not an opportunity.
well, like that's all it is. I mean, like I always say, I've said it several times, is there's hard skills and there's soft skills.
Yep.
A lot of people say I can't get into this because I wasn't born into it.
Hard
Worst
skills can be
excuse.
taught.
Yeah, yeah. Hard skills can be taught. Soft skills, hardworking, integrity,
Self-driven.
yes,
Or self-driven and self-starting.
yeah. Just the having the will to be like,
This needs done. I'm gonna go do it.
yeah, yeah.
Common sense.
Common sense is another big one. Just like
It is.
hard skills can be taught. You can be taught how to work cows. You can be taught how to ride a horse. You can be taught how to drive a tractor. You can be taught how to weld. Those are all things you can learn. And that if you have the right soft skills and get your foot in the door, somebody is going to invest in you
Mm-hmm.
and teach you the things that you want to know. It's arguably sometimes better to start out having no skills. Some people will say this. I've been told, I don't care that you don't know this. You're a blank slate. I can teach you the way
Mm-hmm.
that you want, that I
I've heard
want
that
you.
a lot.
Yeah. So if you are a hardworking, driven, teachable person, I think
Teachable is
teachability
big.
is a huge
Really
one.
big.
Yeah. If you can take criticism, but not only that, have the, humbleness to just shut up, listen, watch, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's also a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to look stupid. There's a fine line between asking too many questions sometimes and what I mean by that is sometimes you just need to get on the horse.
Yeah.
Like you can learn so much by asking and watching YouTube videos, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to take a jump. It's kind of like the whole process of getting into it. You can try to prep for it as much as you can, but if you don't make a call, you don't step out the door, if you don't move to a place where you have opportunity for it, you're not going to get a job on a ranch in the middle of Seattle kind of deal.
Yeah.
I kind of get a little passionate about it sometimes because it's like,
Well, you were talking about buddies back home. I have, obviously the exact same situation. I have lined jobs up, jobs, housing, everything. all you got to do is call this guy. He'll hire you. I've talked you up, or I have you a job. You get like it's guaranteed. All you got to do is come out here, and there's always an excuse.
Yes. Yep. Always. And it's like I said, honestly, I love my buddies back home.
I
I
do
love
too.
I love that they're rooting for me and that they want to see me succeed and they're happy for me. But it does frustrate me
If you're
when
content there, then be content there.
yeah, yeah. But like when people say, "Man, you're so lucky," like luck,
I have worked my
yes.
ass off.
I made a video that's in my phone from like 4 years ago. No, no, no. What am I saying? 2 years ago when I started this hat company, I made a video one night. I was in a cabin barn. It's like 2 in the morning. I'm sewing hats because um, I'd work my I'd work my job in the day for the dude ranch, taking care of the horses and everything. Um, and then I'd calve from whatever. I'd calve at night, take a
Nightcap, do your
9 hour
night
shift
check.
or something,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I'd sew hats and make content and stuff, and like I was like, this is so annoying. I'm like, I just know if I ever make it big one day, people are gonna say, "Gosh, you're so lucky. You were, like, gosh, I just wish,
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 blah." And I have a video sitting in there and it's just saying like, "Look, I don't know if this video is ever gonna see the light of day, but like." I'm working for this. I'm working my butt off, and I still am, and you are too. It takes time,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're expecting to live different, have a different life, you have to live different. You know, I think that's something a lot of people are just wishing they were handed something, but nobody's really gonna do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Couple last questions. Here we go. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
um, it's hard to pick a favorite. I guess if I had to pick a favorite part, it would be hard work. And that's just general, but it's like I get so much fulfillment from a job well done, like something that's like, yeah, that was tough. And that might have sucked a little bit, but I did that and I did it well. And that just like
I love that.
um and then like some favorites is like Colts. Working with Colts, starting Colts. It's so cool for
You,
me
yeah.
working with them.
You answered it perfectly. I was being like an intrinsic rewarding, like this is
Oh,
what gives me
hard work.
satisfaction in
Perfect.
life. So you answered that perfectly. And the whole Colts thing, I'm actually really excited to one day get into that because seeing the progression of an animal and you are behind that, I think is really,
And
really cool
yeah, the
thing.
coolest thing, I used to sit there and look at that and I was like, how in the world do you go from nothing to like all this? And it's now I'm not saying I'm particularly good at it or anything, but
He is.
I know how to do it, and it's cool watching their brains work and
Yeah.
forming a connection with them. Just for instance, I started one this fall, and when I first brought her into the round pen, she was double barreling at me and climbing up the rope, charging me. By the time I sent that horse back 30 days later, I could. She turned into the handiest colt that
No
I
kidding.
started all year. I mean, she was a sorting son of a gun, and I
Oh,
could just
that's
throw
awesome.
the lead rope over the saddle, walk around, she'd follow me around like a puppy dog. Pick up all four of her feet while she's just standing.
That's cool. You ever heard the song Miss Alito by Don Edwards? It's a good.
I
I'll
don't
send
know.
it to you.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I mean, like it just reminded me of that barely, but great answer. I think in a way I have my the most rewarding aspect of it for me too is we have different
Yeah.
our circumstances are different, but a similarity is I get a huge satisfaction out of being busy, keeping busy.
Yep.
Like I work hard and I have no problem saying that. This is not like a boast, like pat me on the shoulder. No, like I'm busy, but I ask for every single bit of it. I like to stay busy.
I
I
do too.
like to keep moving. It keeps my wheels turning. I feel like I stay sharp. That last job on the Dude Ranch in the winter was a great job, great pay, housing. I was doing something I like doing, but it was slow, and there was just nothing for me to do in the winter, and I just felt lazy. I felt like a bum, you
Yeah, I
know?
get that. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get a day off, and I don't know about you, but sometimes me, I'll get a day off and, be really lazy and sleep in, and then, maybe go do one or two things. And I just feel like shit
Yeah.
at the end of the day. It's like, what have I done?
Yeah.
As opposed to if I get up and get going and get stuff done at the end of the day, yeah, I'm wore out. That was a good
Yeah.
day.
It's kind of like I have a hard time sleeping past 8 on a Saturday nowadays. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll be able to sleep until like 9, but if I sleep until like 11, I feel like
That's
my day's
half your
been
day.
gone. I'm like, gosh, I feel lazy. I feel
Mm-hmm.
bad.
Yep.
So,
100%.
last question here, if you don't mind. What is the hardest part? What is the biggest sacrifice, the hardest part of taking this job? A job, life on the road or life on a ranch, whatever it might be.
Are we doing specific to my circumstances or
Yeah,
ranching in general?
your circumstance.
Probably one of the hardest parts is the life on the road for me.
Mm,
Um, Leaving behind friends, one of the big sacrifices is I'm 2,000 some miles away from my family. You know, this when I went back to Tennessee was the first time I'd really been home in like 2 years,
wow.
apart from like flying in, flying out for
Yeah.
like a wedding or something of the sort. So that's a big sacrifice. Um, and the other one is money. I mean, people talk about it, but maybe not enough. But ranching doesn't pay well,
hmm
um, especially not what I'm doing. Um,
You get
but
out of it what you
it's
put into
just
it, kind of
it's
deal, I guess.
comparatively. I could go work 40 hours a week running heavy equipment and probably make easily triple what I make with
Yeah.
full benefits and go have all the nice toys and the fun stuff. I've got everything I own sitting out there
Yeah.
on my truck.
There you have it. No, like literally, I think you nailed it. It's all about, sacrificing what's intrinsically important to you. Would you rather be comfortable monetarily doing a job you hate
Mm-hmm.
40 hours a week, or would you rather scrape by but do something you love and try to make it work?
Yeah.
It's like what's worth it to you. It's not easy in terms of that as well. Like you
Mm-hmm.
make sacrifices, same sort of deal. Like I've missed my siblings' graduations, birthday parties, holiday
Big
celebrations,
events.
big events in my life, my family's lives, my friends. I've lost connections with friends back home, people I really do care about.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing, but it's also, I feel like it's part of growing up and chasing after what you want. It's like if you guys are wanting to get into ranch work, or if you think you might want to, if you go on a 1 year, 2 year hiatus, if you want to do it, go do it. You can always come back to where you were. And if you screw up for the next 10 years of your life, whatever, you live in the United States, you can figure it out. You can bounce back.
Yeah.
If just my advice would be take the jump, take a leap of faith, invest in yourself, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you can always come back to probably exactly where you're at
Yeah.
if you don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, your hometown is never gonna leave.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, oh man, I don't know. That might be it. I just good enough, huh? Colin's
She'll
on the road
do.
heading to White.
Colorado tonight.
That's right. I don't know why
Texas.
I keep
Fort Worth,
popping out
Texas.
specifics. Yeah, heading to. So
Well,
you're
I
you're
actually
sleeping in Lahoon.
Lahana.
You're headed to Colorado.
Yep.
We're gonna go load Quill up and get you on the road.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Hopefully my truck starts.
Oh brother, good thing you got them jumper cables.
And last but not least, Ride higher.
I actually threw them on too. I want to give them a little shout out. Yeah. Higher Boots, y'all. You guys go check them out.
My favorites.